To most of us, Queen Elizabeth II was a symbol of crowns, palaces, and royal tradition. But who was the woman behind the crown? Her life was one defined by duty, sacrifice, and a quiet, unyielding strength. As a young princess, she served during World War II, and for over 70 years, she guided the British monarchy through immense change. Her journey wasn't just about power. It was about responsibility. Beneath the glamour, she navigated personal loss, family challenges, and the immense pressure of a life lived in the public eye. Her story reminds us that even history's most powerful figures are, at their core, human. Have you ever wondered what it's really like to be a queen? We all know the image of Queen Elizabeth II, the brightly colored outfits, the steady wave, the corgis. But behind that familiar public face was a life of immense, often hidden, responsibility, one that she was never supposed to have. Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor was born in 1926, not as a future queen, but as the daughter of the king's second son. Her life was meant to be quiet, aristocratic, but far from the throne. However, history had other plans. In 1936, a constitutional crisis shook the world. Her uncle, King Edward VIII, abdicated to marry a divorcee, Wallis Simpson. This shocking event catapulted her father, George VI, onto the throne, and at just 10 years old, Elizabeth suddenly became the heir presumptive. Her destiny was sealed. From that moment on, her life was a masterclass in preparation. She was privately tutored in constitutional history and law, learning the intricate duties she would one day inherit. During World War II, while London faced the Blitz, a teenage Elizabeth broadcast messages of hope to the children of the Commonwealth, and even trained as a mechanic and military truck driver with the Auxiliary Territorial Service. She was showing the world the quiet strength and unwavering duty that would define her reign. In 1952, while on a royal tour in Kenya, she received the news that her father had passed away. At just 25 years old, she flew home as queen. Her coronation the following year was a global spectacle, the first to be televised, ushering the ancient monarchy into the modern age. For 70 years, she was a constant in a rapidly changing world. She met with 15 British prime ministers, from Winston Churchill to Liz Truss, holding weekly private audiences where she offered her wisdom and experience. These meetings were completely confidential, a testament to the trust placed in her. Beyond the ceremonies and state banquets, her days were filled with reading government papers, signing documents, and serving as a living link to Britain's history. She was not just a figurehead. She was a diplomat, a confidant, and the ultimate symbol of stability. From the decline of the British Empire to the digital age, through family triumphs and public tragedies, Queen Elizabeth II remained a steadfast presence. Her life was an extraordinary story of unexpected destiny and a promise she kept to the very end. A lifetime of service. Thanks for watching. If you found this glimpse into the Queen's life fascinating, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from history. See you next time. When World War II began, Britain faced enormous challenges, and even members of the royal family felt the impact of the conflict. Instead of leaving the country for safety, the royal family remained in Britain as a symbol of strength for the people. During this time, the young princess began preparing for a life of duty and service that would eventually define her reign. In 1952, after the death of her father, everything changed again. At just 25 years old, Elizabeth became queen. The following year, millions of people around the world watched the historic coronation of Elizabeth II, which was one of the first major international events ever broadcast on television. It marked the beginning of a reign that would last longer than any other monarch in British history. Over the decades that followed, Queen Elizabeth II witnessed extraordinary global change. She met countless world leaders, worked with more than a dozen British prime ministers, and represented the United Kingdom during moments of both celebration and crisis. From the early days of television to the modern digital age, her reign stretched across an era of transformation unlike any other in history. Yet despite being one of the most recognized people on the planet, much of her personal life remained carefully guarded. The royal family has always followed the rule of never complain, never explain, which means many events behind palace doors were never openly discussed. This tradition created an atmosphere of mystery around the monarchy, leaving the public wondering what truly happened behind the scenes of royal life. Over time, stories began to surface about unusual traditions, hidden signals used during royal events, and the quiet influence the Queen held in private meetings with political leaders. There were also moments of family difficulty and public controversy that tested the monarchy's reputation and forced the queen to make difficult decisions. These moments revealed that life as a monarch was not simply about crowns and ceremonies. It was about responsibility, pressure, and sometimes loneliness. Today, historians and royal observers continue to explore the many layers of her remarkable life. Some stories highlight her dedication to duty, while others reveal surprising details about how the royal household operates. Together, they paint a fascinating portrait of a woman who carried the weight of an ancient institution while navigating a rapidly changing modern world. As we look deeper into her life, we begin to see a side of the monarchy that most people never witnessed. Behind the palace gates were traditions few outsiders understood, signals used quietly during official events, and responsibilities that extended far beyond what the public could see. These lesser-known details help us understand not just the queen herself, but also the unique system of monarchy she represented for so many years. In the story ahead, we will explore some of the most intriguing and little-known aspects of the life of Queen Elizabeth II, from the unexpected path that led her to the throne to the unusual customs and hidden responsibilities that shaped her reign. Some of these moments may surprise you, and others may reveal just how extraordinary her life truly was. Date. Royal events often appear perfectly organized and formal, but even within these carefully planned occasions, there were subtle methods of communication used behind the scenes. One interesting detail about the reign of Queen Elizabeth II involved discreet signals used during public engagements. Because the Queen regularly attended long ceremonies and met large numbers of people, members of her staff developed quiet ways to assist her without interrupting events. According to royal observers, the Queen sometimes used simple gestures, such as adjusting her handbag or placing it on a table to communicate with aides nearby. These signals allowed staff to interpret whether she wished to move to the next guest, conclude a conversation, or prepare to leave an event. Such practices highlight the level of coordination required for royal appearances. A single public engagement could involve dozens of officials, security personnel, and event organizers working together to ensure everything proceeded smoothly. These discreet signals were not dramatic or mysterious. Rather, they were practical solutions designed to maintain the elegance and efficiency expected during royal occasions. Over time, these small details became part of the fascinating culture surrounding the royal household. Observers sometimes tried to interpret gestures or speculate about their meaning, adding another layer of curiosity to public appearances. In reality, they simply reflected the need for communication in situations where direct instructions might disrupt the formal atmosphere. Even something as ordinary as a handbag could become a tool for coordination during a busy schedule of ceremonies, diplomatic meetings, and public visits. These subtle habits remind us that behind every polished royal appearance stood a team carefully supporting the monarch's responsibilities. No royal story is complete without moments of family difficulty, and the later decades of the 20th century brought several challenges for the British royal family. During the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, the personal lives of royal relatives increasingly became topics of intense media attention. One of the most widely discussed chapters involved the marriage between Princess Diana and Prince Charles. Their relationship attracted enormous global interest from the moment of their wedding. But over time, reports of tension and separation began to appear in newspapers and television programs. The situation placed the monarchy in a difficult position. On one hand, the royal family valued privacy and tradition. On the other, modern media demanded transparency and constant coverage. As public curiosity grew, the Queen faced the challenge of balancing family concerns with her responsibility to preserve the dignity of the institution she represented. When the couple eventually separated and later divorced, it marked a turning point in how the monarchy interacted with the media. The events surrounding these years demonstrated how dramatically public expectations had changed. Royal figures who once lived largely private lives were now constantly observed by journalists and photographers. Through it all, the Queen maintained a calm public presence, rarely commenting directly on personal matters. Her approach reflected a long-standing royal principle that private family difficulties should not overshadow national responsibilities. Although these moments brought criticism and debate, they also revealed how the monarchy was adapting to a rapidly changing media landscape. Another fascinating aspect of the Queen's life was the remarkable discipline that structured her daily routine. Even in later years, Queen Elizabeth II followed a schedule shaped by decades of royal responsibility. Each day often began with reviewing official documents known as red boxes. These boxes contained government papers, briefing notes, and correspondence that required the monarch's attention. Reading these materials allowed her to remain informed about political developments, legislation, and international affairs. After reviewing documents, she might meet advisors, diplomats, or visiting officials depending on the day's agenda. Public engagements, such as ceremonies, charity visits, and diplomatic receptions were also carefully arranged throughout the year. Despite the ceremonial nature of many events, preparation and coordination required considerable effort. In addition to official duties, the Queen maintained personal habits that helped create a sense of routine within the demanding environment of royal life. Tea in the afternoon, time spent with family members, and moments dedicated to hobbies such as horse riding or reading provided balance amid a schedule filled with formal obligations. What impressed many observers was her commitment to continuing these duties well into her later years. Even in her 90s, she remained engaged in reviewing documents and participating in state responsibilities whenever possible. This dedication reinforced the image of a monarch who viewed service as a lifelong commitment rather than a temporary role. One constitutional tradition that often surprises people is the formal role the monarch plays in the legislative process. In the United Kingdom, when Parliament passes a bill, it must receive approval from the monarch before becoming law. This step is known as royal assent. During the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, countless laws reached this final stage of approval. In modern practice, royal assent is considered a constitutional formality, meaning it is almost always granted once Parliament has completed its legislative process. The tradition dates back centuries, to a time when monarchs exercised far greater authority over government decisions. Over time, democratic institutions gradually assumed responsibility for policy and legislation, while the monarch's role became symbolic. Even so, the presence of royal assent serves as a reminder of the historical relationship between monarchy and governance. It also illustrates how ancient traditions continue to exist within contemporary political systems. For the Queen, granting royal assent was part of her broader responsibility to maintain the constitutional framework of the United Kingdom. While the public rarely focused on this procedure, it represented an important link between modern democratic institutions and the historical origins of the British state. Behind the public ceremonies, speeches, and state visits was a more personal dimension of royal life that few people fully experienced. The responsibilities of monarchy can sometimes create a sense of distance between the sovereign and ordinary life. For Queen Elizabeth II, this reality meant balancing personal relationships with the expectations placed upon a national figure. Throughout her life, one of her closest companions was Prince Philip, who supported her during decades of public duty. Their partnership helped provide stability during periods of intense public scrutiny and constant travel. Yet the role of a monarch also involves sacrifice. Personal opinions must often remain private, and decisions must consider the broader impact on the nation and the institution of the monarchy. Over 70 years on the throne, the Queen witnessed enormous changes in society, politics, and global culture. Remaining a steady symbol through these transformations required patience, discipline, and resilience. While the public saw grand ceremonies and historic celebrations, there were also quieter moments reflecting the human side of leadership. These moments remind us that the crown represents not only power and tradition, but also responsibility and dedication carried by the individual who wears it. The role of a British monarch is often described as ceremonial, yet behind the formal traditions lies a subtle form of influence that has existed for centuries. One of the most interesting aspects of the reign of Queen Elizabeth II was the quiet but consistent relationship she maintained with political leaders. Every week, the monarch traditionally holds a private meeting with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. These meetings are not recorded, and no official transcript is released to the public. The purpose is simple but significant. The Prime Minister informs the monarch about government matters, and the monarch has the right to advise, encourage, or warn. During her long reign, the Queen met more than a dozen prime ministers, beginning with Winston Churchill and continuing through leaders from different political parties and generations. Because these conversations remain confidential, historians can only speculate about the insights she may have shared. What is clear, however, is that these meetings allowed her to maintain a deep understanding of political events unfolding in Britain and around the world. Although she rarely expressed political opinions in public, The knowledge she gathered through decades of leadership likely gave her a unique perspective on global affairs. This quiet advisory role demonstrates how monarchy can function within a democratic system. Rather than directing policy, the monarch acts as a steady figure who listens, observes, and occasionally offers guidance based on long experience. Over 70 years on the throne meant that Queen Elizabeth II witnessed changes in governments, international conflicts, economic challenges, and social transformation. While the public saw ceremonial appearances and official speeches, these private meetings showed another side of her responsibility, one that required careful judgment, discretion, and an understanding of the country she represented. Long before she became queen, Elizabeth experienced a moment in history that shaped her sense of duty and service. During World War II, Britain faced one of the most difficult periods in its history. Bombings threatened major cities, and the country mobilized enormous resources to defend itself. Members of the royal family decided to remain in Britain rather than seek safety abroad, believing their presence would help boost public morale. As a young princess, Elizabeth was determined to contribute in a meaningful way. In 1945, she joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service, a branch of the British Army that trained women for support roles during the war. There, she learned mechanical skills, including how to repair vehicle engines and drive military trucks. Photographs from this period show the future queen wearing a military uniform and working alongside other trainees. This experience was unusual for a member of the royal family, especially a woman expected to inherit the throne. Yet it revealed something important about her character. She wanted to share in the responsibilities faced by ordinary citizens during wartime. The training also introduced her to a more practical side of life, far removed from palace ceremonies and royal protocol. The war years influenced how many people viewed the young princess. Instead of appearing distant from the struggles of the public, she became associated with resilience and national unity. This early demonstration of service helped shape the public image that followed her throughout her reign. When she later became Queen Elizabeth II, many people remembered her wartime efforts as a sign that she understood the challenges faced by the nations she would one day lead symbolically. It was a small but meaningful chapter in the larger story of her life. Another topic that often sparks curiosity is the financial structure surrounding the British monarchy. Many people assume the monarch personally owns vast wealth connected to royal palaces and historic estates. In reality, the system is far more complex. During the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, royal finances were divided between private property and assets held by the crown on behalf of the nation. Some estates, such as the Duchy of Lancaster, provide income used to support the monarch's official duties. Other properties, including famous palaces, are managed in trust and maintained for future generations. This arrangement developed over centuries as Britain gradually transformed from absolute monarchy into a constitutional system. Because of these historical agreements, the monarch's finances are connected to both tradition and modern governance. Public funding supports certain official activities, including state events, travel, and the maintenance of historic buildings used for national purposes. At the same time, the monarch maintains private resources that are separate from government funding. The complexity of this system often leads to misunderstandings about royal wealth. Some critics argue that the monarchy benefits from public resources, while supporters emphasize the tourism, cultural heritage, and international recognition associated with royal traditions. For the Queen herself, financial matters were typically handled by advisors and administrators who ensured that royal duties could be carried out smoothly. What remained most important was the continuity of the institution she represented. Over decades, the structure surrounding royal finances evolved to reflect modern expectations of transparency and accountability. Even so, many details remain unfamiliar to the general public because of the unique legal framework governing the monarchy. Understanding this system helps explain how Queen Elizabeth II balanced ancient traditions with the practical realities of a modern state.